Hey there, Jakob here, and welcome to this new build video. And before we jump into the actual build, I want to give you a little bit of a pretext and talk a bit about how it came to be. And if you know my guitars, you know that I'm usually using these Hempstone bodies. So these bodies are made from hemp fiber, and the main reason I'm using these bodies is that I can have a roundback body that's completely natural, so there are no binders in it, no epoxy or anything. It's just hemp fiber, water and pigment. And yeah, I can use it to make a shape that is this nice and narrow here. So when you play the guitar later on, it feels much more like an electric guitar, feels much narrower and much smaller than it actually is. And if you're following this channel for a while, I've built a couple of guitars using a laminated wooden version, so that's why I call these wooden guitars, or like Canna wood. And yeah, the Canna stands for the cannabis from the hemp. So if you wondered why my company is called Canna Guitars. And yeah, this is one of these guitars. And yeah, I tried to achieve a similar kind of goal with the shape. So I have this kind of wedge shape here. So if you're following this channel for a while, you might have seen the last video where I did this laminated version, and it was very well received. Also, I got more likes on Instagram on a single post than all the other posts combined, but that's how social media works sometimes. And naturally I got a commission for a guitar like that. So he asked me to build a steel string version of that design. And yeah, if you've seen the last video, I had a couple of problems with the lamination process and sanded through like the top layer several times and had like some bleed out from the binding and all of that. And yeah, every time I face some problems like that, it makes me kind of rethink if what I'm doing is like exactly the best version it could be. And yeah, it makes me think maybe I can improve on that. And yeah, I wondered how to make a design like that, but using solid wood. So I did a little bit of designing and kind of brainstorming how I would achieve that. And yeah, I came up with a pretty nice design. And yeah, I first made it in Autodesk and then showed it to my client, and he was right into it and said, okay, let's try it, let's make the new design. And so yeah, I was pretty happy to do that. But before I could start to make the guitar, I had to make a mold. So this is the mold, and it's made out of this Sika material, or you can say Uriol, we say in Germany, or like hard foam. And the first reason, of course, is to have the outline of the sides of the guitar. And I want to mention that the sides actually, they taper inwards, so which makes, I think, for a more dynamic design. And I can afford to do that because my guitars, they don't have a heel. So if this is like not flat, it's all right. And the main thing I'm using this mold for is, you can see I have like these two rails here, or these 4 rails. And what I wanted to do with it is to sand the shape of the back, so the concave and the convex shape into it, using these sanding pieces that I also made. And I can use it to sand the body, but also use it later to clamp the wood to the sides. And yeah, so let's talk about how I made the back, because that's the most difficult part of this build. And I first didn't know how to achieve the bend on the back, because I didn't know whether or not to glue and book match the back first and then bend it, or bend it first and then glue them together. So I made this bending iron which is a bit oversized, but yeah, I could use it to bend the whole back, which I ended up not doing after all. but yeah, I still used it to bend the concave shape here, and the concave shape is actually a little bit tilted, so yeah, it paid off to be that long. And yeah, I built this thing myself using my CNC, and it's made from solid aluminium. Yeah, I recorded the whole thing, maybe you're interested, or I made it, and it didn't cost that much, like $120 for the material. And of course you would need a CNC, but you could also just use a pipe here, and then it's like maybe $50. So these parts are quite inexpensive. So I ended up first bending 2 pieces of the back. So one of the main problems with bending the back was that I'm using maple, and maple tends to curl up a lot, especially if you are using a lot of water during the bending, which I did. And so I had to use like flat iron in conjunction with the bending iron to get it relatively flat. And after I've bent the 2 back pieces, I made another mold to then use this mold to trim the edges of the 2 back sides using my CNC. And after that, I sanded them flush and then glued them together using the same mold to glue them together. So I made these 2 pieces from MDF that had like notches fitting the shape, and then used some straps to strap it to the mold and clamp it together that way. And next I needed to make the sides, and for the side I decided to go with laminated sides and give it enough gluing surface to actually, so I don't need linings. And for that reason I chose to make it out of 2 pieces, so outer piece out of maple and an inner piece out of paulownia to save some weight. And yeah, I made these 2 pieces about 3mm thick. And yeah, I kind of learned that bending a piece of wood that's 3mm thick is quite hard. So yeah, it gets much harder the thicker it gets, and I ended up needing to put a wet towel in between the bending iron and the side, so to get really some steam going. Yeah, for that reason it really paid off that the bending iron is solid, so it did hold the temperature much better. And in the end I kind of made it happen, and then I used these inserts in the middle here to clamp the sides, or to laminate the sides. So after that I made the neck and tail block with my CNC, because the shape or the contour is very complex because of these tilted sides. And after that I was about to glue on the backside. So I yet again used the CNC to cut out a piece of the back that I didn't need. Then used the bandsaw to cut out the rough contour. And after that I've used the sanding block to glue on the back. And now the problem was that this shape, I couldn't get it out of the mold, and so I had to use the CNC to route out the binding channel. And after that, I used the concave sanding block to sand out the relief part here. And then I needed to figure out how to make the transition from these two backplates. And yeah, so I decided, okay, to put some veneer in between the lamination. And when I later sanded the veneer, I would have like a nice line. And then I needed to figure out how to make the edges. But first I needed to put something inside the body that I have something to glue on these edges. And I made these round pieces of walnut using my CNC. And also made these diamond-shaped pieces to kind of secure the glue joint, and also put on some back braces. The back braces actually mostly are there to make the back nice and flat. Because of the curved shape, you don't really need these braces. It's already strong enough. Alright, after that I was going to figure out how to make the edges. And I actually used also the CNC to cut out the shape for the edges. Yeah, and it proved to be quite hard, because the orientation of these edges, or the exact location of these edges, I had to basically manually use the CNC to route them out, like step by step, really slowly, like in many kind of passes. But in the end, it worked out pretty well. And then I made these pieces out of obsidian ebony, which I use a lot in this build, for the edges, also using the CNC. And then I glued them in using some epoxy and some dust from the obsidian ebony to kind of mix with the epoxy and fill any little gaps. And for the side sound port, I glued two pieces of obsidian ebony together and used my CNC to cut out the shape. But yet again, the obsidian ebony didn't agree with that, and yeah, as you can see, it snapped when I tried to route it. The vibrations were too much, and yeah, I had no other choice than try to fix it, glue it back together, because I didn't have any more material, and I ordered it from Canada, so I had to work with what I got. And in the end, if I hadn't told you just right now, nobody would notice. But yeah, it meant that I had to do the final shaping by hand. And the last thing to do was the binding. And so I had to do the binding channel on the edges by hand, and also clean up the rest of the binding channel. And I used some tainted hemp rope again. Last time you might remember when I wanted to pressure cook the rope, my jar kind of exploded and I got taint all over the workshop. But this time I made sure that didn't happen. And then I also used a taint that isn't soluble with the epoxy, so I didn't get any bleed out. Anyways, and then I glued the hemp rope binding on using also epoxy and some sawdust. And the main problem with the hemp rope is that if you cut it, it kind of, it opens up the kind of fibers and it gets very rough. So I had to use a lot of super glue to kind of fix it again and make it like solid, so I could sand it and work it with a chisel to get a nice binding on the guitar. Alright, so that's the main part of the back build, but I still had to do some other parts like the neck and bridge. And yeah, if you've seen the last video, you know how I'm doing it with the CNC, but I still want to give you some additional information on how I'm doing it or why I'm doing it. So first I'm using this scarf joint here, which is in a wave shape, and the reason for that is mainly that I can orient the headstock piece to the neck piece, which is very important for the CNC, so it knows where the parts are exactly. So when I have to kind of flip it on the table on the CNC, it knows the relative position of these two pieces to each other. So that's very important, especially for like a fan fret construction. So to go over the steps real quick, so I need to first do these waves on both pieces. Then drill the holes, and I can use these two doubles to really fix it and so get a really precise glue joint here. So before I glue the neck and the head piece together, I want to show you up close the wave. And how it works is that this wave goes like below this one, like this hump here, and therefore it can't move. So if I put it together, I have a perfect position of like the orientation and also the kind of angle here and the orientation between these locator pins and the locator pins in the neck part. And of course I will also have this veneer in between, which you don't need, but I like the kind of separation, especially for maple, where you would see any kind of imperfections in your glue joint with like a nasty dark line. And I drilled these holes so I can put in two doubles. now it can't like slide away. Of course you have to do it before the glue has dried, but yeah, that's basically how you make this neck joint. So another thing I'm doing with this guitar, I've done it with the last guitar, is I'm using this Paulownia inlay. So I'm routing out the neck so that the neck is actually just a shell. And then I'm putting in 2 layers of carbon fiber and this insert of Paulownia in the middle. And what it does is basically makes the neck much stronger, much stiffer, and also less prone to any deformation over time, because most of the wood is replaced. And I got like this lamination of carbon fiber that really makes it very strong and very stable over time. And for this builder I'm also using an insert into the fretboard. So there's also a Paulownia insert in the fretboard with a carbon fiber layer in between. And both of these inserts, they save me a lot of weight. So the fretboard inlay actually saves me about 100 grams and the neck inlay about 40 grams. The next inlay I have on this guitar is also a carbon fiber inlay in the headstock, and this one is more of a kind of a safety thing. Simply lets me sleep better at night. And yeah, I had some problems with the design early on when I used some mahogany or a cedro for the neck, which I'm not doing. So I'm using maple now, which is much stiffer. Anyways, I put in these carbon fiber inlay using a piece of veneer in the middle to kind of push it in. And yeah, so that's the main reason I'm using the CNC, is to make the design better, and I can use it to do some things I couldn't do with by hand. So actually making a neck with a CNC takes longer than making it by hand. And yeah, it's basically 40 different programs that I have to run, and where I have to change tools in between and change the orientation of the neck. And yeah, of course there are some comments that I'm cheating because I'm using a CNC and yeah, it's not a real craft. But most of you might know that yeah, using a CNC is quite that easy. It's not that the CNC is doing everything and you don't have to do anything. Simply making the program and yeah, learning how to operate a machine takes like many months. So when I'm finished with the CNC work, the neck is still quite rough, and I still have to do like a lot of hand carving and sanding, and actually making the neck feel nice still needs some adjustment. So I make the neck a little bit thicker with the CNC, so about 1 millimeter too thick, and then I do the rest by hand, and yeah, to really get a nice feel for the contour of the neck. To finish up the neck, I had to put in the frets, and this time with the obsidian ebony it's quite hard to put in frets. Maybe you have to use a 0.5 millimeter router bit instead of 0.6, which you usually do. But yeah, I ended up gluing in all of them, and yeah, it was quite a bit of work to do the fret dressing, but after all I really like the result. I like the feel of the wood and how it looks. And yeah, it's just quite hard to work with. So for the bridge I'm also using my CNC, and I had to make quite elaborate piece of holding equipment, and the main reason for that is that the channel for the saddle isn't straight, so it's tilted a little bit to the back, which I think allows the strings to put the pressure onto the top much more directly. So I had to make like this fixture to put it in an angle, and then use the machine to route out the slot. Also made a fixture to drill the holes for the strings myself. And after that, of course, a lot of sanding and a lot of finishing work. So for the frame, I've also used this obsidian ebony, and they told me that I should use epoxy to glue it. And from my experience, I can tell you, you might rather use some polyurethane. So I had one joint crack, so I had to re-glue it. I used polyurethane and it seems to work better. And yeah, to the final and maybe most important part of the guitar, which is the top. I decided to do a solid top this time, so usually I was using a double top, and the main reason I'm doing that usually is not only to save some weight of the top, but also to sand in my special wave shape into the back, which allows me to make the top much thinner and have much lighter braces on the top itself. But I figured out that I could just use the braces to put in the this shape, which I think is much more effective at preventing the top from deformation than a usual dome shape. And for this guitar I chose to pre-route the braces. And for the braces you need to know that the height of the braces is what gives the brace the stiffness, but you also need about 6 millimeters of gluing surface. So I made this tool to route out the top part of the braces, and then I have much less to do later on when carving the braces, and yeah, I get a much more efficient use of material. So for this guitar I've chosen to do a double X bracing, so regular X in the middle and then this X on the back, and the X on the back really makes use of my wave shape and kind of prevents this deformation. And then I'm using a vacuum bag to glue on the braces, and then of course a lot more of material that I have to remove and to voice the guitar. I had some criticism last time that I didn't voice the guitar, but I promise you I did. But yeah, this time I also of course voiced the guitar, and what I'm looking for is to give you rough orientation is that I have a very strong response and a lot of kind of overtones. So as you work the top, you can hear it opening up. So there are more pronounced and a more diverse selection of frequencies that the top is able to express. And for this guitar I didn't really have a ballpark to shoot for, because it was the biggest top that I've ever done by quite a margin, and yeah, I tried to make it a little bit stiffer than usual, which ended up being quite wide for this guitar. And if you know my guitars, you know that I have a upper transverse brace that is adjustable, and I also made this piece with my CNC, and I made 2 pieces to support the brace, and in the middle I have a nut and a bolt, and I can adjust the bolt to adjust the action of the neck. So after gluing in the one transverse brace and the side port, it was time to glue on the top finally. And after that, yeah, there's still a lot of sanding the sides and sanding the frame. And as usual, I'm using shellac or French polish for the whole guitar. So I did the finish first before I can glue on the neck. So for this guitar I chose to not only glue on the neck but also use 2 dowels. So gluing on the neck also proved to be quite a challenge, since first the dowels need to be really precise for the neck to fit in, but also not too tight so that I couldn't push it in. And also what I need to take into account is that the dowels expand when you put on the glue and makes it much harder. So it was quite easy when I put it on dry, but when I put on the glue, yeah, I really had to really had to struggle, and yeah, I was short from failing the whole build in this instant. But yeah, I ended up succeeding and putting on the neck. And yeah, after that it was smooth sailing, doing a little bit of setup and doing the nut and saddle. So after spending a lot of time doing the intonation and the setup, I finally put on the strings and do the final polish. And yeah, so that's about it about the guitar. I hope you found it interesting and also insightful of me kind of narrating the whole thing and explaining what I'm doing. Usually I have like this builds where I don't talk much, but I hope that you appreciate me explaining things. So yeah, that's about it. Now let's listen to how the guitar sounds. And yeah, I played it myself. I'm not a very good player and I am not a very good recorder, and I didn't edit the recording whatsoever, so it's right out of the microphones. And yeah, I hope you like the build. I hope you like the guitar, how it sounds. Let me know in the comments, and if you like the video, please leave a like and yeah, subscribe for more, since this won't be the last guitar I build like that. Always trying to push boundaries. Anyways, thanks for watching and see you next time.